Hi, Michael Smith here with Teach Construction, and welcome back to another episode of Teach Talks. This is a weekly show, at least we try to make it weekly, where we're interviewing teachers from all across the country, and these teachers have just one thing in common. They all teach construction. And this episode's no different. We had the pleasure of talking with Sean Macdonnell. Now, Sean runs a program, and we've been working with Sean for about 3 years, and he runs a program here at Westminster High School. Great guy. I'm really glad we had a chance to catch up. But as usual, I could ramble on and on and on, so let's just roll the video. But I was looking forward to chatting with you because, geez, I think you and I and Joe have probably worked together the longest out of almost all of our partners because it dates
Yeah.
back to really when you started teaching over at Westminster High School. And
Yeah, a little, almost, it's been over 3 years now.
right, so how's it going there? Be, before COVID conversation, how is it going before? Because you did a full year the last couple of years.
Yes, yeah. So before COVID, I mean, yeah, it was really going well. With the help of you guys and your software, I was able to really get that program going. I've gotten kids so far advanced and placed and really created kind of an excitement buzz with our program. We've got kids getting jobs and kids, even if they're not going into construction, they're excited to get in there because, at some point they plan on owning a home
Right.
and now they know how to fix it.
That's always nice.
So yeah. So it's been really, really good. The program has gone from a almost middle school level shop class to now a actual job skill. So
Well,
it's been really great.
we were over there, geez, I guess the end of last academic year, and you had students building. Obviously, you went through all the basics, and you get your students for several years, ideally. You've got a construction one, a construction two. Do you have a third level also?
The third level, actually, I just submitted all the paperwork and it starts August of 2021.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
So we then saw some of the build projects of your construction two guys, or I
Yes.
should say guys and gals, because you had some young ladies in your program, I think. But
Yes.
you had big wall sections, you had them framing up, you had them putting electrical in them, plumbing in it. Was that pretty much it? So framing, electrical, plumbing? Or was there more
Um,
to them that I didn't see?
well, so those are the hard basics that I really try to cover. Trying to get them. The big thing is getting them certifications, and so in carpentry and plumbing, electrical, those are the big certifications. We also do. I have a about 6 week plan reading section that I do, so they're able to understand blueprints. They're all assigned jobs and tasks, so they understand construction management and how to organize people and things on a job site. So I try to mimic being on a job site as much as possible, so they understand all aspects. I just had a kid recently tell me that he got accepted to CSU in the construction management program.
Oh, wow. Outstanding.
Yeah, yeah. So and then they're top five in the country.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's great. So I try to expose them to as many parts in the construction industry as possible. But yeah, those are the main things because when it comes to residential construction, it's framing, electrical, plumbing,
Right,
and then cabinetry and finish carpenting.
right.
Those are my four main focuses.
The one thing I'd love to see more programs do, just because I think it's one of the better trades, is more of that finish side. So everything from a trim, but all the way through, painting and finish, painting exterior, interior. All that. I say all the time, if I ever had to go back in the trades, I'd want to be a painter, just because if you're talking about new construction or repaint, it's got to be clean and warm.
Hmm.
I'm not out there in the middle of the winter time with the framers. You'd be inside, nice and toasty, doing the paint. So. But, I guess I've gotten a little soft in my older age.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. That's why I'm no longer outside swinging a hammer. I'm teaching kids how to do it. But no, I try to teach that too. That's one of the things we do actually in the first year when they build their toolboxes. So they build their toolbox and then we work on how to properly sand and then either stain and polyurethane or prime and paint or whatever they're going to want to do so that they know the proper procedures to go about doing the proper finish for whatever they're doing.
So, when COVID hit, what was the big change? So let me back up. You were already doing some sort of electronic, learning, some sort of learning management portal within your school and some other tools.
Yes.
So then COVID hit. What was your major change that you had to deal with?
Um, the major change was, especially for me specifically, was with the demographic that I work with, was to get them to engage, because they don't have the resources to go and like go grab stuff to be hands-on.
Right.
And so to get them to engage in an online platform for something like construction where they can't swing a hammer and they can't use a saw, to get them to buy in,
So now you've
right?
gone through 2 semesters of that attempt.
Yes.
Do you think you've experienced any success in it or just attempts? I mean, the
Um,
reason I say that is every teacher we talk to is having the exact same struggle, and the question
right.
really is how do we keep them engaged in how do you keep a hands-on learner engaged in an electronic environment?
Right. And so, I mean, some of them are fortunate enough to have, a parent, an uncle, a grandfather who has a workshop or is in construction, and they send me videos, they send me pictures of them on job sites and things like that, and that helps a lot. They've developed a couple of little tinkering things that they can build with like popsicle sticks or the marshmallow pasta tower, things like that.
Mhm.
And they send me pictures and they're real proud of what they do. Um, but I mean, it really the main thing is we show them a slideshow or a video and then a follow-up quiz, but then they write a reflection paragraph about what they learned. And there's a lot of them know, a little bit about the tool, but then what they learned. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about that from the kids about, I didn't know this tool could do this, or I didn't know I shouldn't use this tool to do that, or, things like this, or even in my advanced classes where it's, learning about load bearing and, the higher up you build, the more structure you need to put down below. Like you can't build the whole building out of 2x4s. You need to go, thicker at the bottom. And
Right.
so things like that. And they appreciate that. The ones that aren't willing to engage aren't going to engage.
Aren't gonna engage, yeah, so there's only so far you can go, yeah,
Right. But
right.
the ones that want to learn, they really have appreciated it and they really like it.
That's great. Now, you've had kinda on and off opportunities at school, right? You had a hybrid model, and you were at school for a while, and then you had too many cases, so you're at only remote, and then you're back at school.
Right.
So you were lucky enough to have smaller classes and keep the hands-on going.
Yes.
But, how'd it work with that start and stop? Did that really kill you, or did the fact of having electronic resources did that help?
Oh, the having the electronic resources helped tremendously because actually it was it was kind of a blessing and a curse all at once. When we got sent home full time after Thanksgiving, that crushed me. But having those kind of little breaks where they only could do electronic was actually really nice because I could kind of front load my lesson. Where, all right, when we get back, this is what we're going to do. We're
Mhm.
going to frame this, and it needs to be right. Like you have to have your header, and you have to have your sill plate, and you have to. And they were able to identify all that through digital, and then when they got into the classroom, I could just tell them, hey, go grab your equipment, grab your supplies, and here's your plans and go build this. And they knew what it was. So they were able to just kind of like hit the ground running and just do it because they have already front loaded the information.
That was always our hope, but and I've say this a lot with Joe and I now focusing on just creating teaching tools and not teaching directly, you never know. But the
Yes.
hope always was that if you can front load as much electronically, whether it be through video or live instruction, live virtual instruction, then when you get to the shop, you can really get something done.
Yeah. And that's really what it allowed me to accomplish is because like, yeah, when they were remote, it was say, all right, do, you know, block 1, 2, and 3, or whatever block we were on with the trade skills. And then they got in, and I could just say to them, all right, grab your hard hats, your safety glasses, load up your tool belts. There's your materials. Here's your dimensions of your wall. Here is the specs on your plumbing. Here is the specs on your electrical. they knew what to do because they, like, again, they had front loaded it, and it
Hmm.
was awesome. They were just able to come in, get their team together, and build. All I did was just kind of walk around and supervise. I didn't have to
Right.
really teach them what they were doing when they were doing it. They were able to just do it.
Right. And just be there for questions or what have you.
Right. Or, if something was just a little bit off, I could point it
Hmm.
out or, correct something.
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, they knew what to do, and that was
And
great.
what projects were you doing like that? Was that for both your construction one on some of their toolbox projects and construction two, or?
Unfortunately, the hands-on time that we had for construction one for my intro classes, they have the only tools they've been allowed to handle were hand tools and a drill. They have yet to
Okay.
touch a saw,
Okay.
just because the time's been so limited.
Sure.
But my construction twos, because they had all been certified on everything, yeah, they were able to walk in, they built their wall, they started running their plumbing, and then in the plumbing, that's when we got shut down and had to go home.
So the wall you're building, and
Hmm.
I'm going off of memory from a year and a half ago, so it could be a little foggy, but you had a rough opening for a door in it, I thought,
Yep.
or was it just a rough opening for a window? So explain the wall for me if you can.
Okay. So the wall, it's an 8x8,
Hmm.
finished. There is a rough opening for a 30x80 door. There is a rough opening for a 36x36 window. There is plumbing that comes in that will supply a sink under the window. And then there is electrical that will do an outlet near the sink, like for a garbage disposal,
Hmm.
right? And then there's a light switch and an outdoor light that all will need to be fed. And so they kind of get all of it. And then once we complete that, then we drywall it, we sheathe it, and we side it.
So
So
they don't have to run electrical or plumbing over the header. It's all staying on the window side. You're not trying to put anything on the other side
um,
of the wall.
it runs, so between the door over here and the window over here, it actually runs in between.
Okay,
And
so
so
you're just feeding from the top then.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so they're able to run their stack from the top, and then they can also, the electrical, they do have to run either through or over the header, but the plumbing they don't.
Okay. Okay. So they're really passing areas. They have to are on the plans, are you telling them exactly where to run the wire, or are they trying to troubleshoot a run and how to accomplish where the switch is gonna be and the outlet's gonna be?
I tell them where I want the outlet, the switch, and the light,
Okay.
and then they need to figure out where and how to run the wire.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of both. It's
Great.
where do you run everything to meet code, but I
Mhm.
want this here, this here, this here.
Okay. So the end destinations are being called out, but each team, and are they doing these as a team? Sorry?
Yes,
Okay, so each team's run could be slightly different than the other team.
correct. Everything's a little bit different based on how they want to do it, as
Right.
long as it meets code.
Well, that's great. So do you do a code lesson on some of the applicable sections before, or
Yes.
you just okay.
Yeah. We learn, minimum code for a window to be off the ground,
Mhm.
um, code for headers where, like, how big they have to be, where wiring has to be, where plumbing has to be,
Mhm.
where plates need to be over wire if you're running through.
Okay, so you're putting
Um,
strike plates on it also depending on how on okay.
Depending on where they are, yes.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
everything would need to be met by a building inspector, and I actually have a good relationship with the city of Westminster, and they'll actually come in and look at them and
Oh, sweet.
check on the kids and make sure that, like, if this meets, if this doesn't meet,
Right, right.
so
That's great. That's great.
yeah.
So they come in at the end of the semester or
Well, before COVID hit, they would come in probably 2, 3 times a semester
oh, wow.
because I'd want them to check framing,
Mhm.
and then I want them to check plumbing and electrical, and then if that all passed, then they can put on drywall, and then they can put on sheathing and siding, and so
That's
it's kind of like, it's like building a house, but just in an 8x8 wall.
right, right. That's fantastic. How about movement of those? Obviously, when you put some sheathing on them, you put some siding on them, they're getting damn heavy. Are
Oh, they
they
get real
are
heavy.
are they moving them around every day or
They are, yeah. So we have we have a designated place where they keep them, and it's really one of my favorite parts of the class. It teaches them how to work together, because even if they're not on the same team, because especially with COVID, my teams are only 2 people,
Hmm.
and it takes more than 2 people to move the walls.
Hmm.
And so they have to learn to work together. They have to learn to ask for help. They have to learn to communicate, because my garage door is exactly 8 feet tall.
Oh,
And so to get them out, they have to tilt it,
sure.
right? So they have to communicate, they have to talk, they have to plan out, they have to figure out where they're going to set it. So it really, I don't know, it really builds a lot of kind of camaraderie
Hmm.
in the classroom, because they, even if they don't like each other, they're gonna have to work together or
Right.
nothing's gonna get done.
Right. But you have a unique challenge, I'll call it, when it comes to electronic learning, where you have to use multiple systems, right? So
Yes.
you have a learning management system in-house, and I forget what that one's called.
It's called Empower.
Okay. Then you also use our portal over at Trade Skills U and using our class setup for you.
Yes.
Then you're also using HBI's portal for their certification process. So
Yes.
how are you balancing all three?
Um, so I basically, what I do is in Empower for my school, I build the assignment basically as a finishing step. And so that they go in, they click on the assignment, whether it's, the hammer, the drill, or my advanced classes, it's, framing, plumbing, whatever. They click on it, and then there's a link that takes them to Trade Skills.
Okay.
And then, there's the lesson and the quiz. And then they go, once they're done with it, then I have a hands-on thing built in Empower that, has either the blueprints or the instructions. Then they show me hands-on what they're doing. And then I put a finish step in Empower where they take a picture or write a reflection. And then they are able to hit the submit button in Empower to turn it into the school.
Okay, so you're getting your reflections submitted there.
Right.
Um, so that gives you a graded element and a trackable element for each student. The
Yes.
the quizzes that you're using from our portal, what do you have to do there? You have to go into our grade book, read them, and transfer them over to your grade book and Empower?
Sometimes I do, or sometimes again, I'll just have them screenshot their computer
Oh,
and
okay.
and submit it into Empower, so I don't have to toggle. I do that more with my advanced students,
Mhm.
not so my beginners. Yes, I go to your grade book and I look at what they've done, and then I just transfer it over real quick.
Right.
But even with my advanced students or my beginner students, I still have a finish step where they write me a reflection of what they learned, or they give me, how many times did you take the quiz? What was your best score? And obviously, I go back and I check that because I'm not
Right.
going to believe all of them. But I have to toggle between. And then the HBI platform, I only use that with my advanced students. And they really, I use the trade skills almost as like a pretest. So now I'm at, yes, like you said, I'm at 3 platforms where you have to pass this one, and this one
Right.
for me to prove competency in trade
Right.
skill, HBI, and Empower.
Right.
And that's just ridiculous for
Yeah,
a
it's
high
too
school
much on
student.
you, and it's too much on the students.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm not worried about it on me. That's too much for
Right.
a high school student.
Right, right, right. They shouldn't have to bother with it that way. Well, I'm confident we will find a way to get our content that you want, the content that's valuable for you, and
I
get
have no
that
doubt.
inserted into Empower, just because that's just how it should be.
Yeah, yeah, no,
So
I have no doubt you guys will do that.
so let me ask you this question. Given the fact that you do electronic learning so much, and I think you were doing it before COVID, let's say COVID went away tomorrow. Do you still plan on keeping the electronic delivery of material, or do you think you're gonna start paring down some of that?
No, I absolutely will be keeping it, because even before COVID, I used it, whether it was showing a video in the classroom or a slideshow presentation, and they took notes. And then, like there was a quiz 2 days later. I still use it, even last year before COVID was a thing. I still did that. I had, the digital representation or video or
Mhm.
whatever, and yeah, they could watch it. But then I also really like it in the fact that they can always go back and reference it,
Right.
right? I like that reference point, because not all students are great note takers.
Sure.
but being able to say, oh, I remember this, but not entirely, and they can go back and view a video or a slideshow or a vocab sheet or something digitally. I think that's a great thing for them to become an independent learner,
Mm-hmm.
right? And especially in my advanced classes, I try to promote that as much as possible. I have a lot of teachers probably have this, but I do a three before me situation, right? Where you ask your partner, you ask your team, you check your notes, and if you've done all three of those things, then you can ask me the question.
Well, that's great. How's it work?
So last year it worked extremely well.
Okay.
Especially in my advanced class, I really just walked around,
Mm-hmm.
supervised, made sure everyone was safe.
Right.
I got very little questions because they knew that policy. They were like, if they weren't sure, they asked the person next to them.
Mm-hmm.
If they weren't sure, they collaborated kind of like as a class, and one or two who might have taken really good notes could go back to their notebook. And if nobody had it, then they'd come to me and ask the question. And that ultimately made me think, all right, well, if nobody has it, I didn't teach it that well.
Sure.
We're going to sit down real quick. We're going to go over it again as a class, and then we're going to go back.
That's outstanding. So that gives you an opportunity to know, did I skip something? Which we all do. We all forget stuff.
Right.
But really the asking their peers, figuring it out from notes, that's what they're gonna do in real life. So, I mean, that's
Right.
outstanding job training because
Yes.
no boss wants to hear from their employee every second, every question. "Come
Correct.
on, try to figure it out first and then ask me."
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and it allows them to gain confidence in the fact that, no, I'm pretty sure this is what we're supposed to do, and then they do it. And at the end of the session, I can come through and either it's a yes, yeah, you did that right, or maybe next time try this, or no, that's totally wrong. But either way, it helps them kind of build that confidence that, yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Right, right. Given you're gonna be continuing using electronic resources, which is great, I am hoping more and more teachers do, not just because we're in the business of providing them, but from a standpoint of it's a great resource for students to go back to learn,
Yes.
because everybody learns at a different pace,
Right.
and it could be a video they watch again, whether they're doing it before lecture or after lecture, however you structure it, it's just great resources for students. But so where I was headed was, given that you're gonna be using electronic resources, what else could you use? What other tools or resources would help your teaching environment?
Um, I mean, before this year, I probably had a laundry list of things, but a lot of the stuff that you and Joe have provided, it's eliminated a lot of my requests. Having that the multiple camera angle,
Mhm.
so students can see, having demonstrations and really seeing not only just how to do it and that, but like how it incorporates and how to put things together, in some of your more advanced videos, and
Mhm.
why we do the things we do. That was a lot of it. And yeah, just having that bank, like that library bank of things that students can go back to see. Really, as an instructor, that's all I can ask for, other than more hands-on time, which
Right. Which
no one can give me
which
but the
right, we
school.
can't guarantee it, right. So, going on to different camera angles, I've just put up a video up on our screen too.
Mhm.
What we used to do was have multiple camera angles at the same time.
Right.
The latest few videos, we've been fading in and out of multiple camera angles, and you hadn't seen these Windows one yet, but do you
No.
have any indication on what you would rather see as a learner yourself? Would you rather see one camera stuck on Joe and the other one doing close-ups, like a split screen, or how I was just showing you here, where it was kind of fading
Um,
back and forth?
so like for this particular, like actually performing an act, like
Mhm,
installing a window or even assembling a box, right? Like a jam in case for the window or something like that,
mhm.
I would prefer something like this.
Okay.
But for the actual act of using the tool, I like the split screen where it's on Joe and he's using it, but
Mhm.
then the other screen has a different angle of like right on the material of what he's like when he's using the
Right.
miter saw,
Right.
right? You can see him head on what he's doing, but then another one over like where he's making the cut and that. So for me, it would depend on exactly what
Okay.
the task is.
So if it were a tool, like you say, with the saw, it's better with multiple angles. If it's
Correct.
more of an installation function like this, then fading in and out and having only one perspective or one angle to focus on at a time might make sense.
Yes, yeah. If
Okay.
it's a task, I think this is way better. But if it's functionality of a tool and learning how to use a tool properly, I think the multi-angle is
Okay.
much more beneficial.
Well, that's helpful. Anything else you think we should chat about?
Yeah, no, really at this point, I mean, with everything you guys have done and you guys trying to work with Empower and,
Hmm.
everything you've done for me and making my job, I couldn't imagine how hard my job would be without having the relationship that we have right now. I like you guys because of how easy you make my job.
There you go. There you go. Well, anytime you think of something that can make your job easier, please let us know because that's what we're here for.
All right, sounds good.
Sean, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. You guys have an amazing program. I hope you get back into the classroom full time as quickly as possible so you can really spend time with students and building those walls again.
Yeah, me too. All right.
And as soon as we're allowed, I hope we get a field trip again. I want to come out and take a look at your stuff.
Oh yeah, as soon as they allow guests in the building, I will let you know.
All righty. Hey,
All right.
appreciate it. Have a great holiday to both you and the family and stay safe and healthy.
All right, thanks. You too, Michael.
All right, take care.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.